Hello, gorgeous souls. I'm Michelle Rosetta, and this is Stories Not to Take to the Grave, a podcast inspired by the rich sharing of traditional wisdom and know-how with storytelling. I believe the remedy our communities deeply require for health and well-being is rooted in our own authentic and unedited tales. Some of what we fear to speak or that which is seemingly mundane to us is exactly what those around us may need to hear in the way we speak our truth. I am a mother of 4, an entrepreneur, and a clinical herbalist. Plant medicine being one of the modalities I work with to assist my community. I have the tendency to make questionable choices, jump off things I shouldn't, along with the uncanny ability to turn it around to land on my feet. It is not only in victory that deep healing lies, but also in our mishaps and trials. Independently and with guests, we will cover topics to support our sovereign journeys to our best versions of wellness. I am not a doctor, and clinical herbalists are not licensed in Canada. Anything discussed pertaining to plants, protocols, and health in general are for educational purposes only. Every body is different. What works for one may not be the answer for another. It is your responsibility and duty to decide whether a course of action recommended to you, no matter it be by your family doctor or natural practitioner, is right for you. During this podcast, we will grow our personal discernment abilities and learn to take off the layers covering the self that lies within, so we may listen in a more profound way. So, let's roll up our proverbial sleeves, start digging, and get down and dirty with everything that makes us already fabulous and on our way up. And, of course, please subscribe, share, and leave a review if you enjoy this content. Let's get digging. In this episode, Kolby Romard, the founder of Love Reflected, a clothing brand built to inspire confidence, self-worth, and connection through the message of self-love, and I get together for a more informal observation on what's going down in our current month. We discuss themes such as divine timing that appears to be a present, pertinent lesson, divine timing not always being perfectly planted roses in what we hope for, but very important to not only guiding us in our growth into our path of greatest potential, along with protecting us from ourselves when necessary. And pre-warning, there will be more likes in this due to my lack of composure when I get excited or impassioned. I discuss what I learned from Mugwort most recently and how this grandmother put me in my place for my benefit and those around me. I also talk about another most recent fungi experience and potentially my unskillful choice that led to an important lesson on allowing oneself to be misunderstood. Kolby shares her feelings about the importance of people disliking us and how this strengthens our team, those seen and unseen in our human experience. Also, in what ways can we stay sane and grounded while participating in life and exploring the realm of the spirit? It is also very interesting to me that my idea of self and how I perceive the world has already shifted greatly from this recording. I feel we are in a time of immense growth and understanding. However, there is no need to scrap content as it is created because that was the point of this podcast, to dig through the layers, get dirty, and talk about it along the way. Join Kolby and I as we discuss what's the download. I would like to introduce a very special human in my life, Kolby Romard. She is an aspiring life coach and the founder of Love Reflected, a clothing brand built to inspire confidence, self-worth, and connection through the message of self-love. After walking through her own journey of self-healing, self-discovery, and personal transformation, Kolby now empowers others to do the same. Hi, Kolby.
Hello, Michelle. How are you?
So how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. I'm glad to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well,
You
I
look
think
beautiful as always, by the way.
oh my God, you're very sweet. Thank you so much. And you as well. I think actually we're going to be pretty authentic about how we're starting this. We had a little bit of a roller coaster coming in. And I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
premise that with the theme we were going to look at discussing was divine timing. And when we think of divine timing, we often think about the flowery parts of it and not so much the actual practice of listening to divine timing and what that can mean. So I want to give a little bit of an intro because I think it's somewhat entertaining. Last week we were meant to record. We had another friend joining us. We wanted to kind of do this monthly recap of what's the download, what's happening. And the plant ally that I was bringing into this podcast, because a lot of it for me is about walking down this human path of awakening and the allies we require along that road, and I am focusing on a lot of our plant allies. So I was going to work with mugwort that's growing in my little herbal garden. So I'll walk you through the little bit of the process that morning. So I brought it out to the herbal garden because when I'm working with plants, and I would say a lot in our traditional knowledge, we're communing with that kingdom, we're communing with that spirit, and we're asking for help, guidance, and healing. And I was talking to Mugwort about our theme of divine timing. And so I was all very happy with myself and walked back in and brewed some mugwort tea up to have while I was discussing this theme with you and our other friend. And anyhow, we know what happened then. The platform wouldn't work. I had to do this upgrade. There was no button for it. It was a bit of a disaster.
The magic
So,
mugwort.
so,
Our
so
little human minds couldn't comprehend.
we couldn't. And this is the funny part. So I'll just let one of the reasons I wanted to deal with mugwort was traditionally in folklore, very much it is a very powerful magical plant in terms of warding off negative feelings, emotions, what we consider spirits, also creating protection, and calming. So I was using it because it calms the nerves. It creates a sense of centeredness, and also though very good for digestion, just, itching, pain, any of those things, and excellent for women's menstrual cycles. Do not use when pregnant.
Okay.
And in general, it was you could actually smoke it. It's a mild hallucinogenic. And the Japanese use it widely in regards to healing and medicine, and often they will blow the smoke over, like in kind of a smudge type way over acupuncture holes, because it cleanses, removes those types of negativities. Anywho, so that is mugwort in a little bit of a nutshell. I brought her into my home. And what I realized was, so the previous episode, I talked about motherwort. So motherwort, in my mind, and everyone is going to have different experiences with their plants and with communing with these spirits. So with motherwort, in my head, she's like this big kind of mother, grandmother, huge bosom, brings you in and is like, it's okay about your human proclivities. They're there. It's all going to be okay. This is part of your learning and experience. And, she makes you cookies and sits you down at her kitchen table and brings you like nice tea. But mugwort was not like that, because I am not being fully I'm not being fully transparent at this point about everything that was going on that day. And I think I'll get into how important it is we take care of our energetic space, because it can impact us and all of the people we come into contact with and those that we actually want to do work with. So Mugwort was like, and I don't swear much, but you asked about cussing. And anyways, she was like, she was not like Mother Wart. Mugwort was like my friend from up north who smokes a pack of cherry cigarillos over tea and says, "You don't know what it was like back then," and will like have your back during a bar fight and tell you when to sit your ass down and figure out your shit because you are not being your best self. That's what Mugwort was like.
That's the thing with like these herbs that are tools. We bring them in and we have expectations for them, but we have to understand that, they're going to come in the way that we need them to, not the way that we want them to.
And Mugwort was protecting me from myself, which I'm dealing with a little bit of I'm wondering how to process it to not villainize myself, but also to appreciate the experience and maybe my unskillful choices over the last 2 weeks, which I may get into in a greater way, but I will read the room.
Okay.
and at this point, again, this morning, I feel I was so much more centered with getting my mugwort. I brewed some up. I'm drinking it now. And again, we had some issues getting, not for us, but with our friend getting into the platform. And this is about divine timing, and that when we're dealing with divine timing, it's not all about like, oh, I'm going to be in the perfect place, the perfect time, and this is all so gorgeous, and this type of very maybe one leveled type of look at divine timing. Divine timing for our friend meant having to be absolutely honest with self and us, that in their personal discernment, this was not the right space for them. And things were getting in the way of them being able to join because they were getting the message that this wasn't the right space for them, which they knew could be super hurtful to us, and them wanting their personal human self wanting to show up because they feel in that earthly sense, they say they're going to show up, so they have to show up. But because we're in this awakening path, divine timing meant that their timing was not aligned with this, and that they had to listen to their higher self, and that perhaps down the road we will understand how that comes to pass. And that's a part of divine timing that's not always the fun part.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm actually really glad that that happened, because I felt like it was inspirational. Like, as much as in that moment I'm like, what just happened? I feel like now I feel empowered by it, because it is a good reminder that just if you've made a commitment to someone or something, you do still need to prioritize yourself and your feelings and your heart, right? And if something doesn't feel right, you are fully capable of setting boundaries and exiting that situation where it's due, right? And I think I oftentimes don't do that enough, where I stick it out just because I feel obliged to, and I end up like draining myself, and it doesn't end up serving the other person either, so I'm glad that it happened. And I know that, as you had mentioned, as it unfolds, we're gonna kind of see why that happened in the first place, and that's really interesting about divine timing.
And so we were going to move into a personal story of yours that you felt safe to share in regards to divine timing. So do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I would love to. So, my story, one thing that I wanted to mention about divine timing that I thought was really interesting is the lessons that repeatedly come through divine timing. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but when there is a lesson that you are meant to learn, if you don't learn it, it will continue to show up in your life over and over and over again until you face it and resolve it. So for myself, every time I go on vacation, when I come back, I get the post vacation blues, right? Like I get really sad. And I think it's because I look at the situation that I'm in right now in life and I'm unhappy because I just came from where I want to be. I want to be able to travel. I want to explore. I want to, I don't believe that we're meant to be tied down in these 9 to 5s and work for on other people's schedules, right? And I think the more I travel, the more it saddens me of my everyday life. So this particular time, I recently went on vacation, and when I got back, I felt fine. I didn't feel depressed, which was a first. And then a week later, the depression just hit me like a truck. I was unpacking my suitcase and I was just feeling really sad, like for no reason. I didn't know why. And I didn't actually realize at the time that it was connected to the unpacking of my suitcase, and then I guess it's sort of interesting because I was physically unpacking a suitcase, but now it was time for me to emotionally unpack the suitcase that I had been holding on to and realizing that there's a life that I want and a life that I have, and how can I be grateful for my current life while I'm still working towards the future. And that was really difficult for me. I was trying to sort of get the message and still it wasn't coming together. I even decided to start journaling because of the emotional impact that this was having on me, and I had to start work, so I couldn't finish it. And then later that evening, I think I was mentioning to you that I had discovered Alan Watts, right? You had sent me an Alan Watts video, and I didn't end up watching it because when I pressed on it, because you sent it on Instagram, when I pressed on it, for some reason, it wasn't taking me to the link. It just wasn't working. And that divine timing, that I guess that was not meant to be the first impression that I had of Alan Watts. So when I had went on YouTube that night, I see this thumbnail that looks awfully familiar. It looked very similar to the format of the one that you had sent me. And I was like, oh, hey, this looks familiar. And something was kind of drawing me to it. And the video was titled something like, this video will only find you when you are ready, like when it's meant to. And that very much falls into divine timing. I clicked on it. I was like, okay, I think this is meant for me. And this video, it was like every single thing he said, I was like, oh my gosh, how'd you know? How are you in my life right now? Why are you calling me out? And he was answering all the questions that I had earlier that day. And I found that really interesting because it wasn't something that I had vocalized. I'd never even said these questions out loud. It was something that I had written down and then watch those answers manifest in real life for me. Like some of the things that the video said was because I was feeling like in my business, I was kind of lacking and I wasn't moving fast enough. And I wasn't I guess making enough money, or I wasn't as successful as some other people. I was sort of comparing and despairing, and that doesn't serve anybody when you're in that space, especially when I'm creating a brand that is filled with self-love, compassion, and love for others. And how can I sell self-love and positivity if I'm having those moments that I'm comparing and despairing? You can't, right? It's the complete opposite. But some of the things that he said in the video, one of them was, life flows and you flow with it. When you stop focusing, when you stop forcing, you stop rushing, you discover the rhythm has been carrying you all along. You are never outside of the dance. And it's kind of made me realize more that even if I'm not actively making effort towards where I want to be, or if I think that I'm behind, truth is that with divine timing, I am exactly where I need to be, no matter the situation. Even if you're in a bad situation, you're exactly where you need to be because you are learning the lessons that you need to learn in order to get where you need to go. And after that video, I was feeling really inspired. I felt like all my questions had been answered, but I was still, something was off. I was having a hard time implementing that and, getting back into my business and stuff. So for those people who don't know, the market that Michelle and I were doing, we met at a market over the summer, and yes. And so the last month got canceled. And so at this point, I didn't have a backup plan. I was like, okay, this gives me time to put my website out there. I'm very new into my business. So my website wasn't even up yet. When I was doing the market. And I said, okay, I'm not going to put it up because I'm going on vacation, and I'll put it up when I come back. So that way people don't order things and they're not able to get them till I come back. Now, when I came back, because of this depression, this compare and despair, I was feeling unmotivated to even have it up. And I was like, do people even care? Do I even want this? And it was just like all these like questions that I was doubting myself, that I was making excuses. And then so the next day, I think, or a few days later, or like the next week or something, I went to the gym, and mind you, I've been making these shirts now. I make shirts with affirmations written on them backwards so that when you look in the mirror, it reads correctly. Now, that's such an amazing thing to wear to the gym, and you think that I would wear it, but I never wore it to the gym because I was scared of what other people would think of it. And isn't that so silly? It's something that I'm selling, and I wasn't even wearing it to the gym. I think because in the gym I often feel vulnerable. And even like going to the gym sometimes makes me feel a little vulnerable. So I finally decided today is the day where I'm going to wear one of the shirts that I made to the gym. So I put on my shirt that says I am enough, and as soon as I walk into the gym, somebody like who runs one of the classes, she goes, "Oh my gosh, are those the shirts? I love it," right? And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." Like, it made me feel really nice. But then after the class, she pulled me up in front of the whole fitness class. There's like at least like 20, 30 people in the class. And she introduced my shirts and was talking about like what an amazing message it would be, especially, and that we're trying to get a collaboration now, like with the YMCA. Like, she's trying to like help me work with the YMCA to like get some things going. Cause I think that it falls really well with like what the YMCA stands for.
May I just say that one, on a personal level, when we're talking about life skills and maybe life coaching, that was an excellent lesson. But on an entrepreneurial level, I think it was a very important lesson. And now it's an excellent tool that you can put in your toolkit.
Definitely. And then so after the class, like, I had 4 different people come up to me and ask me how they can order stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even have a website up. I've been slacking. I've been feeling down. And in that moment, I was feeling inspired. Like, I was like, okay, like I need to get this done. Like, not just for other people, but for myself. Right. And I felt like it all folded together like really nicely. And it was like, I needed to unpack that suitcase because I still have unfinished business here. It's not my time to travel the world and do all these things, right? Right now, my business needs me and people need me right here where I already am. And I think like it's important for me to show up with gratitude to the situation that I'm currently in. Yes, I am still working full time at a job and running my business at the same time. And some days it gets really hard, but I've now started creating a list of reasons why I am grateful for my full time, even though it's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. It's allowed me to show up with gratitude and not be miserable every day when I show up, because I realize why I'm doing it and why it's benefiting me right now. And I felt like that was like a full circle moment where it was compare and despair to inspiration and motivation, and kind of answered the questions as to why I was feeling so down, and why I wasn't meant to go out there right now and travel the world. But so I think that's really the story that I wanted to share, is that I think especially we often think that we're not where we need to be, or we're not where we want to be, but life has a really funny way of making you exactly where you are. You are always in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing and saying the right thing to the right person, even if you are not consciously aware of it. So that was my story, and I just wanted to share that because I think it's a really good reminder.
It's a gorgeous reminder, and I think at my particular time in life right now is I have these really present moments based on what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
that these feelings of having to have I for me, my for whatever in life, since I have been very young, my need to personally and spiritually evolve always trumped the material want. And so if someone were saying, "Oh, you can have this if you do this," I'd be like, "Well, I don't think so. That's not going to work for me." And I would go down a very hard path, which other people would look at and be like, "Why is she doing that? She's so rebellious. She could just do." And no, I didn't think it was being rebellious or anything. I just knew that it was more important for me to go down that path, even though I was not entirely cognizant of the spiritual awakening or how I wanted to level up. I would have never called it those types of things. However, at this point in time, someone from the outside could look at me and be like, "Oh, like she really didn't push." They could see it and not understand me or why I make the choices I make, but I'm in a much more present place where I realize I really have fully embodied, because of also validation now of where I am age-wise, that I really am where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to do in the timing that I'm doing it. And all that pressure to feel like, "Oh, I need to get this out to so many people, and I need to look like this, and this is the status quo
Yeah.
that should happen, and this is what success looks like." I really don't know what happened, but it just left. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
literally left the stage. And the other important story, based upon what you were talking about and bringing it back to Motherwort kind of protecting me from me, is that
Mm-hmm.
divine timing also will protect us from what is not right for us in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't have the skill set in order to show up the way we need to. And a really important story for that from my end is that I was donating a whole bunch of product to this one particular conference. And it was like a lot. It was probably at least $1,000 worth of product. And I had packed it up in a box, and I pure spent a lot of money to make sure it got there on time and was signed for. And what happened was the organizer wrote me and she's like, "Michelle, your product didn't show up." And I'm like, "What?" And this is the part of me, if I'm, that I probably am working on, or my challenge in this life. I went, "Rah!" Like, I felt so dumb after, not on her, but like on the people, the company that was supposed to courier my product to their organization, I was like, I just paid this amount of money and da-da-da, and like I totally diva'd out in an embarrassing way. Now when I look back at it, it was really not a wonderful human moment, I think, for me, because what happened, I realized, was, and this could still be the carrier, but what happened was they ended up finding the box in the back room, that somehow it ended up in the back room. It was unopened but lost. And then a week later, the shipping company got the box back to me. And when I opened it up, there was a whole bunch, like the glass had not been protected. It had not been wrapped enough, which actually the onus was on me. And if people had opened up the product and there was glass in it,
Oh boy.
I would have more than likely been liable for that. And so that was absolute divine tapestry protecting me
Mm-hmm.
from what was not within my timing. And so after that experience happened, there's other times that I realize I kind of feel in this experience like I was here for a reason, and I would like pop up and be like, it's go time, like let's get her done, and then it'd be something going bam, and I kind of used to look at it a bad way, like, why are you not letting me do my thing? Like, I came here to do a thing, you're not letting me do my thing, I'm getting frustrated not doing my thing, like I am ready to go. And as I've gotten to this point, I think in my development, I realized I did not have the skill set. I did not have the emotional stability. I didn't have the capacity to probably manage a lot of those different things. And that's why I feel that we are put in the right places where we're supposed to be at the right time with the skill set we have, if we're allowing ourselves to be cared for. And even when we're not, like, I realize how stubborn and willful I am now, and that the larger team around me is like, she's so difficult, but like we're gonna protect her from herself anyhow. And
they knew what they were getting themselves into.
do you think so? Because sometimes
Yes, very much so. Like I feel like things are planned out in a certain degree. Just gonna say that, like, I feel like before we come here to Earth, we have this spiritual team that we kind of take turns being like those guided. And also, okay, I don't know, my spiritual beliefs are very complicated, so it's like the fact
please
that time
expand,
is
but that's why we're here. That's why I
time
was
is
giving
not
you
linear.
space to start. I was giving you space
Yeah,
to unpack that, and I want to hear you.
time is not linear, and so your spirit can exist in many different places at the same time. So you can be a guide for somebody else while you're also still living here in this human experience. And so we take turns, being a guide for people, right? And I believe that when we chose those people, we've also established like their role almost. And I think because of the fact that time is not linear and everything is kind of existing all at once, they already have insight as to exactly who you were going to be. And that's not to say that there's no free will, and that that every single thing is planned out for you. Like, that's not the case. But everything does happen the way it needs to happen. And why do you know that? Is because it happened the way that it did. And you can't change it. You can't change the past. The only moment that exists is right now. And so, yes, everything is existing all at once. And, but divine timing too falls into play, because with your spirit guides guiding you, they know exactly how to guide you and nudge you in the right direction, and they will place these like obstacles for your human self that actually end up leading you exactly in the right direction. And sometimes our little human brains can't understand or fathom at the time. And then a year later, we're like, oh, that's why that.
So we get along really, really well. We can bounce off each other, which I want to talk about a little bit later. But the point is, I'm at a genre. I don't call it age. I'm at a genre that I really can look back over my life and be very cognizant of this happening at this time, the culmination of all those different events, and that I had a massive validating time. Many of us did over the last 5 years, where you can look back and be very understanding of, oh, that's why I chose this and this way amid these hard choices, and did this when everyone thought I was crazy. And then you're like, wow. Yeah, but I would, and that's another topic I want to talk about in terms of divine timing. But that I think it's so wonderful to hear that, and we're kind of on different spaces of our human experience, however, very aligned in terms of the lessons with.
I agree. I agree. I do see that. And I find that also one thing that I've noticed is the people who are closest to you, you'll notice that your lives almost like reflect each other in a really weird way, where like the people who are closest to you are almost learning similar lessons, and you're able to assist each other through that and learn through each other. And to elevate and maximize that learning experience.
And I want to premise like close, not necessarily in physical. I mean, we get to see each other, which is nice, but not necessarily when we're talking about our blood ties, but close in terms of our spiritual paths, close in terms of our frequencies and vibrations, where you can meet someone and know that you can be your whole self. Actually, do you want to speak on that?
No, you go first. You go first.
There was an experience, and I was trying to decide, am I going to be honest about it? And I think I'm going to be. It was an unskillful choice. And then people will know my unskillful choices, and that's why I feel a little bit bad, but I'm wondering.
But, you know, I think it really creates authenticity and relatability. You know what I mean? You're not the only one to have made unskillful choices. You know, I think it happens every single day, you know, even the best of the best, and people and coaches who have been here for so much longer, we're constantly making mistakes, and that's part of life, and it's relatable. And I think there's a sense of humor to that as well.
So this is going to be maybe too much humor. So what happened was I was going down. So I really came out in the world and was like, I need to experience this. I want to do this. And like, this is a big adventure. And I felt very much like I was a tourist on planet Earth, and I needed to see and try and like do everything. So within that, I was very, very blessed at a very chaotic time to have a community open up to me, where it was very much about harnessing that spiritual activity, learning how to set up your own protective boundaries. There's also rules within that were set up originally, that, you know, in terms of what medicines we work with, what medicines that community was given the teachings about, what was expected around that. And then this summer, okay, so that brought in a lot of stability, and it brought in a structure that I required. I really required that structure at that time. Then this summer, this whole other thing happened where that structure kind of gave me some leeway, where these message things came in that were like, you don't have to be so structured. If there's a medicine or a plant that's being offered to you to learn from, then potentially that's your path. This is only one way. So, of course, as soon as I got that that like go, I'm yeah. What happened was is some different medicines came in, and anyhow, I and it's not that I hadn't had an experience with this particular kingdom at one other times. However, I had had very strict rules around how I participated over the last while, and I always was validated why those were important boundaries as well. So I just before the weekend before we were supposed to do our recording, and this is why I'm feeling a little bit bad, like my energy maybe offset our friend's
Okay.
energy. So I decided I was going to participate in this shroom thing, teaching mushrooms. And
Ceremony-ish.
but it wasn't ceremony-ish.
Oh,
And
okay.
anyways, so, and I mean, maybe no, everything we do has that sense. It kind of was like that, but not necessarily. And my other experiences with ever when I was younger, pre-children, and I experienced that type of realm, I was with people that often we're quite close. And I also realized I need to be in the woods. I need to be by water. I need to be in the woods. It's very important to me. So when I was offered this experience, I was thinking, well, let's do it up, Buttercup. let's have this experience. And it wasn't necessarily that it was terrible, but there was some. So when I go into something, think, what am I learning from this experience?
Mm-hmm.
So at the most
That's
simplistic
so
level,
important.
so
That's
the
so
most simplistic
important.
level, I remembered why being in the woods is very important to me. I
Okay.
I can't in the city, I don't,
So
however I'm
where
built,
were you during this experience?
like just in my community.
Oh, like you
In a
were like were
There
you
was a
outside
really
or inside or
outside, there was a really
okay.
nice tree, but my frequency just doesn't resonate in the
Mm.
city. There's something that I need to be able to have that type of experience. And anyhow, I really thought I was in a pop-up storybook, and everything looked really strangely two-dimensional almost. It was very strange experience. But this is the part. So there was, it wasn't terrible. I did, obviously I try to climb trees because that's just what I do. I end up in trees. Anyhow, but I had never had that type of it was like in a liquid form. And anyways,
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
so it would be very potent. And my my lesson out of it, and this is why I'm discussing this because you had brought it up, is allowing ourselves to be misunderstood, allowing ourselves to look like we're maybe crazy to people who don't understand what our path is. And that's part of like that initiation, right? And what happened for me was, I actually think all the things I was discussing in the regular, we would talk about all of these things in the regular, and it would not be not what we think is real, right?
Yeah.
So I am very animistic. I do believe the trees are talking to us in
Mm,
their own way. I
mm-hmm.
do believe the
They are.
rocks have energy. I do believe the water is a part, like it has a language, and it's
Yeah.
one of the ones that I can talk to. So I was attempting to tell a story to someone beside me, and within what I would say in real life, right? But I must in real life just not recognize that people probably don't understand what I'm saying.
No, yeah, seriously,
So
I've
what
really had to filter like what I say, and it's because some people just don't get it. Like some people don't
well,
understand or they're
no,
not like on that plane of existence.
and I was trying to
They
explain a
probably thought you
previous
were a drug
experience,
addict.
and her face went sideways.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I sat back in my space, and still trying to talk my way out of what I was talking about, but I
Oh
had this
no.
very real realization that
Mm-hmm.
they did not see me. They did not
Oh.
understand what I was saying. They saw
Oh.
me from their point of view and had already made a story about me.
Yeah.
And there was no connection in terms of what I was trying to relay in a very authentic way that I believe. It's not because it's not because I'm on a shroom trip. It's because that's
Exactly.
how I see the world. And
Yeah.
so I sat back and I thought, what am I learning here? And then I realized I had to allow myself to be misunderstood. I
That's
had
a big
to
one.
allow that they were going to see me in the way that they saw me from their world, and there was just no
Mm,
way that they could see me in any other way because they're in their frequency and I'm in mine.
that's a
And
big
it
one.
was
Yeah.
it was very profound. I mean, it's something I know, but that's something I personally
That
deal with. And
that's
Kolby,
so
I'll finish
difficult to
this
get
story.
through.
I know, I'll finish this story. So then I was sitting there thinking, wow, she has no concept of like where anything. There's nothing happening here, and this could be very uncomfortable. And what I had to do in that moment was actually call back in those people. That's why the story comes that's why the story comes full circle, that were closest to me in terms of how I move through the world. And so I literally had to pull that list out where I was like, Kolby understands me. Stephen understands me, Kieran understands. So I had to pull out the people that I knew I'm able to talk to on a regular basis, and they do see me and they do understand me. And it's okay that there's a whole community that does not. And that was a very profound lesson. It wasn't an easy one, but that's what I feel like came out of with that. And then also finishing this part, I felt like I had ripped a hole in my biofield. So
Mm.
this is a thing we have to think about when so that I do feel this may have been an unskillful choice. um but and there's times to do things and there's times not. Okay, so like I'm not the neuroplasty. Yeah, I had my neuroplasty definitely was left open to be rewired 1000%, and that's what our mushroom kingdom does. But the problem is that I felt that I had maybe wasn't in the place that was proper for me to experience those
Hmm.
types of things, and I felt I ripped a hole in my biofield, and that it was mending, and I feel like it's still mending. And when I was wanting to get ready to do the recording last week, I didn't even realize. And then also because I ripped a hole in my biofield, and people like the biofield, I consider that our energetic kind of almost our cloak, like and stuff that protects us from things and
Your
stuff that's
energetic field. There's many
yeah.
different layers to it, but it's
Yeah. So I
your
felt
shield.
I ripped a huge hole in my shield. And not only that, I did it on the night that the Mayan, Aztec, and all these other different type of Druidic traditions believed we were having a massive shift on the planet. And what did I decide to
Oh.
do? I decided to go do a shroom trip in the city with a lot of people that I had just been getting to know. And I'm thinking,
Mm.
Michelle, like, what are you thinking? So then I also ended up having whatever that kind of there was an energetic little bit of a viral thing moving through. And so the recording didn't work. And then after the recording on the third day, I realized, oh, I'm not even well. Like I'm moving through something, and because I was not present in my space and I had not made sure that I was in safe space, I was still working out all of these things, and I didn't even realize that I wasn't present or myself. And so then when it brings it back to our friend and that particular lesson, they were in a very important and soft and kind and gentle ceremonial space on that Sunday. The sun, where I thought I was gonna, whatever. Anyways, and so the thing is, I feel a little bit responsible in terms of my energy. And I think that's actually, my son learned this lesson this week too, that what we choose in our space has impact far greater than just us. And so that's my story. And just, Kolby, you were there. I was like, Kolby understands me. It's okay. I can talk about how the trees talk, and it's going to
Aw,
be okay.
you know what? Like, I really want to touch base on something that you said during, like, when you were telling that story about, like, talking to that other person and realizing that your story was perceived in a completely different light and the different picture was painted, and being okay with showing up authentically and as yourself, and being okay that somebody's going to make their own opinions
And
about you.
recognizing that
And
they see me in a certain way already prior
yes,
to the
yes.
story, so that
But that
there
is
was no saving
so
myself.
difficult. That is such a difficult thing. And I think, like, actually it's made me want to, like, we should definitely talk about at a later time, judgment and like judgment of others, judgments of ourselves, like. And I feel like oftentimes I can, like, I've caught you before, like, analyzing like somebody else's opinion of you when you don't even know. And it's like we often construct like what somebody else is thinking in our own brains, and it ends up influencing the way that we see ourselves. And like I find it really interesting, like, just overcoming that judgment and not caring what other people think. I think sometimes I get stuck in this back and forth of caring what people think and then thinking like, oh, I'm in the Matrix, nothing is real, I can do whatever I want and nobody will care. And I get stuck in that place, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, I can't. No, I can't do that. And I fall back and forth between caring so much about what other people think that it ends up pushing me into fear of judgment and fear of failure, and it keeps me small. It keeps me small, and I don't act on things, and I don't do the things that I feel called to do. And I think it's important to get over that and be able to show up in the world as your authentic self and do what you feel called to do without that fear of judgment or fear of failure, because those who understand you and support you, you're going to naturally create that community around yourself. The more authentically you show up and put yourself out there, the right people are going to come, right? And
well, I hear what you're saying. I think also for us, we're really sensitive. So when someone's feeling something,
yeah,
I have to really be centered, because I'll get remnants of that. And it might not even be about me. So that's what I've learned over the years, that what someone's feeling might not even be about me. And if it is about me, it's not my business. And I think for me, in that moment, what happened was that realization, because I have no other choice but to show up as me. I don't have the ability to not do that. So
yeah,
it was almost at this genre in my life, I looked at it and I looked at how they're looking, and I thought, oh my God, have I been going through all of my life and people don't actually understand what I'm saying? I
yeah.
had
You
this
know,
moment, and I had to move through that and be like, that's still okay. It's still okay to be misunderstood, because there
yes.
are people that you can connect to and that do understand what you're saying, even if a large proportion of people do not understand what you're saying. But it was like a moment of a realization
Yes.
that I have no other ability except to just show up as me. I'm not capable of doing any layers. So it means I really have to be comfortable showing up as I am, and that it is what it is, and there's no turning back.
I have two things I want to say about that.
Yeah.
One is that it reminded me of something that I heard on a podcast the other day when I was in the shower. And why did I need to tell you I was in the shower? I don't know. But so here I am in the shower. And the podcast said people say you can be anybody who you want to be. And the truth is that no, you can't. You can't be anybody who you want to be. You can only be yourself, right? And so that what you were saying reminded me of that. But then I forgot the second point. But that's okay. It'll come to me another time. But it was just going back into like a judgment, and in that, oh, you're right, it came back to me. So judgment in that situation, when you show up as your authentic self, it's also um a relief that that person didn't resonate with you or understand you, because you found out sooner in that early stages of that friendship that that is not your person, and you're able to continue to show up authentically and find your people. And know, like, imagine like so much later down your friendship you find out that that's not your person, and you would have just felt like so much time was invested into something like that, and I felt like it would have hurt a lot more than something new and something fresh, right? So I think that's important to realize too, that continuing to show up as yourself authentically will only lead you in the right direction.
That is a really, really nice point. As we start to kind of wrap up, is there any final points that you wanted to discuss in regards to your experience with Alan Watts, who I love, love, love? I once had a PR person over at my space in Toronto, and they're like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, actually, you have to listen to this Alan Watts video I found. And I saw them years later, and they're like, do you realize you made me listen to an hour of Alan Watts?
That is so funny to me.
I forgot about it. Oh
that
my
is
gosh.
hilarious to me. That is really funny.
I'm definitely an Alan
You should have
Watts
said,
person.
but did it change your life though? Like,
I know.
you know those ones where you're like trying to get someone to watch something and you're like, oh, wait, this part's getting really good. Hold on. This. And you're like, wait, it's almost over. Oh, how about this one? Let's watch this one. And this person just had no idea that this is what they were going to be doing.
Okay, so is there anything that you want others to know about that you're doing right now, or that is important to you?
Right now? Oh yeah, you know what? I was telling you earlier before we started that right now, Gary Vee is a really big inspiration for me.
Why, Kolby? Why is Gary Vee? And so you're introducing me to someone, because I'm not saying that, but I just wasn't out of the cave.
I don't know if you would like him or not. I think you should just check him out.
Why do you like him?
I love that how authentic he is and how vulgar he is. You know, I cuss a lot. You know, I didn't cuss here. I don't think, did I?
No, I did.
But
Mugwort did. So Mugwort cussed.
Yeah, Mugwort did it. You know, I think vulgarity is just so much in my language that I don't even notice when other people like use foul language. But so I enjoy that he kind of just like will highlight every single excuse that you're making for yourself and really be like the hammer and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, he'll like freak out, but
maybe
like,
he would like Mugwort too.
Right? Maybe it'll help chill him out. But it's been what I've needed right now. Like, and he's taught me a lot of things, and not just like in terms of like those reality checks, but yes, a lot of reality checks, but he's just really funny. Like, it's someone who's funny to watch. He has really high energy. A lot of people don't like him. Which is why I said I don't know if you'll like him or not. It's because a lot of people don't like him. But that's the thing, when you show up authentically and when you show up as a person and allow other people to hate you, people are going to hate you. And just naturally, the more people you expose yourself to, the more likely you're going to find somebody in that bunch who doesn't like you. But as of right now, I'm kind of learning that there's sacrifices that I need to make and balance that I need to create in order to get where I want to go. And him and his videos have really been helping point me in the right direction. And because sometimes I feel like a little lost and not really know what to do, and I end up in a very stagnant place. And then I end up making it mean that I should give up, right? Or recently I started getting into a hyperfixation of wanting to start a bake stand. I don't bake. I've never really baked. I I was like, I'm gonna start a bake stand. I'm gonna start making bread and selling bread. And then my boyfriend was like, shouldn't you like focus on the business that you already have instead of starting a new one? And I realized I was like, no, I can do both. And then I realized that I was probably just because of my ADHD seeking the next best thing that was going to provide me with dopamine. And because I'm in a place right now in my business that is making me feel like I need to put in more effort in order to gain more like reward. And so I felt like subconsciously I was seeking something more exciting in that moment, when really what I needed to be doing was doubling down, have discipline and motivation to work on what I already have, because I already have something really amazing. And so now I've moved away from the bake stand. It took a long time. I was like, for nights, like just scrolling and looking at other people's bake stands, and like I literally made like a whole like page of like all these ideas, everything that I would bake, like and it was just really ridiculous. So he kind of helped me snap myself back into reality. And I think it's important. I think it's important to follow your heart and stuff, but I think it's also really important to stay realistic. And that's kind of what's hard about this human experience, is because it's like you have to balance between the divine and spirit and yourself here.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, and there's different modalities around that. I'm very lucky that I've been so involved in a community that recognizes your mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, and they have their quadrants, and we need to be working on each one each day, because if we're all spirit, then we're missing the point of being involved in the planet. And even in different types of traditions, that can be considered Luciferian. I think that potentially myself, I had a very strong Luciferian streak where it's, why do we need all these lessons? This is ridiculous. We just need to leave this planet. I don't want to be here. Like, we just need to rock and roll our way out of here. Right?
Yeah,
If I'm
seriously.
being super honest, I recognize I had a very strong Luciferian streak. That's what would be considered in maybe the Rosicrucian view. But to understand and to learn from our experience here on the planet right now, we are being given this very extraordinary on like valuable physical lesson that maybe not every soul gets to have. So again, going back to having having value, having gratitude, and having the space to allow ourselves to have this physical experience is very important to our success level in terms of walking that path, but also the ascension. But that's a whole other
I
story.
totally agree. I think that especially like gratitude, I think gratitude kind of keeps us sane too, because, if you constantly are wanting but not appreciating, like why would the universe give you more? You know what I mean? Like if you cannot see what's in front of you and appreciate and value, why would you even be able to take steps forward, right? And I think that's a really big lesson too, that we're all learning here on earth, because especially it's such a dense place. And I think there should be a lot more gratitude in the world and lots more positivity, and that's what we're here for. So
And I think that's a wonderful space to wrap this up. But I also wanted to say that I do think things divinely in
Mhm.
terms of timing happened well for this because you had so much to share, Kolby. And
Yeah.
I think that I really am happy we had the space for you to share in the depth the way you were able to, because if we did
Mhm.
have more voices in terms of our original and thinking of how
Plan.
this would be good, I think that we wouldn't have gotten to the depth of where we needed to go
Yeah.
with where you are right now. So I
Mhm.
think that it all worked out in its most bestest way,
Mestices.
bestest in the most benevolent and beneficial manner. I think it all worked out, and I'm very thankful that our mugwort was here to guide us
Yeah.
in a kind but firm manner.
Yeah. And I actually really loved that you picked mugwort because for some reason I got a message last night that told me that I should do a foot bath with mugwort, and I didn't
Ooh.
listen to it. I was like, universe, it's time to sleep. And then so I went to bed and I didn't do it, and all of a sudden I wake up and now we're talking about mugwort. So I will definitely do that tonight. So
Very
thank you so much
interesting.
for sharing.
And they used to put that into shoes, right? It
Oh,
would give energy and release tension. So that's something to think about the message you got. Just use a foot bath with mugwort. Very
interesting.
interesting.
Okay.
So I
Thank you so
think
much.
potentially we will keep doing our monthly updates.
Mhm. Okay.
And I think this was a successful first round. And Kolby,
I
thank you
think
so
so
much for
too.
joining me.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the block. Bye. Thank you so much for dropping by Stories Not to Take to the Grave. I hope you feel inspired to take more time to listen to your own internal wisdom and to find the courage to share your story. If you like this content, please share, subscribe, and I would be ever so grateful if you took the time to leave a review. Until next time, keep on digging.